Hey, hi everybody, and welcome for joining us for this Covestic webinar. Our topic today is optimize your SaaS license visibility and reduce costs with ServiceNow. I will be your moderator today, John Siniowski. But before getting started, just a couple of housekeeping points. Please do submit any questions via the chat window, and we'll try to answer as many that permits at the end of the session. If there are any that we can't get to, we'll respond by email. And we're also recording this webinar, and we'll post a copy along with slides to our website, typically within 24 hours. We'll also email you a link to the download location. So some quick introductions. I'm John Siniowski. I'm the ServiceNow sub-practice lead for the ITSM, ITAM, and ITOM practice areas at Covestic. I have over 10 years of ServiceNow implementation experience, and I've been with Covestic now just over 2 years, and we are now a milestone company. And with me today, I have two senior members of my team that are participating in the discussion. So please introduce yourselves, Lynn and Scott.
Hi, welcome everyone. Lynn Reynolds here. I've been with Covestic ServiceNow practice for many years, and I work within our IT service management sub-practice as a business process consultant. I've also had the opportunity to help deliver several of our webinars related to a wide variety of ServiceNow and industry topics.
Hey everybody, this is Scott Trumbull. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was looking for, that validation. Okay, so I'm Scott Trumbull. You guys might remember me from such popular webinars as optimizing your cloud footprint and ITOM and CMDB better together, or I'm one of Covestic's senior solution architects. I've been doing this ServiceNow delivery thing for probably about 13 years now, working in the delivery space, spending a lot of time with ITOM, discovery and integrations. If any of you think you recognize me and you've been in ServiceNow from quite a while, the most call out I get recognized for in this environment is in the inaugural Creator Con in 2015. I'm the guy who brought the beer delivering robot that was controlled by ServiceNow.
That's
all
awesome.
right.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you. So just a quick overview of who we are. For those who don't know about Covestic, we are a one-stop shop that span across the IT ecosystem, from both projects to development to operations to staffing. And we implement, operate, run, and offer a broad range of capabilities across IT, and that includes ServiceNow. And as practitioners, not just developers, our experience is based on real-world challenges. And just some quick facts: we're an elite partner. We were founded in 2001. We have over 250 employees and have deployed over 300 projects with a 90% client repeat business rate and a CSAT score over 90%. So in our recent webinar, we focused mainly on optimizing cloud visibility and reducing costs with ServiceNow's Cloud Insights solution. This webinar continues that conversation. So today, our topics will include SaaS license usage, reducing and optimizing spend, and staying in compliance in terms of audit. Also, showing you how to solve business challenges, and some of these common challenges are increasing SaaS license spending, better SaaS software visibility, and improved audit support. We'll also show you how to access richer and more meaningful license landscape data, and that goes beyond just counts of licenses. And we'll also provide with a consolidated lens into cloud spaces, user communities, and even more. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Lynn.
Yeah, thanks, John. So in our last webinar, we talked about cloud visibility and managing cloud costs, but we didn't really address the SaaS licensing component, specifically license visibility and how to manage those license costs. That's what we want to explore in detail today. Organizations spend billions of dollars on unused software licenses specific to SaaS and cloud, and they have the ability to save up to 30% on software costs. So what you see on screen are typical cloud challenges. Customers feel that they have a lack of visibility into multiple cloud platforms, and they want to better master this space in order to be more efficient and more cost effective. They want to manage license spend. They want to be in license compliance and successfully pass software audits. They want to eliminate license waste and unneeded spend. And ultimately, they want to truly get the value out of their cloud environments. The rest of our webinar will address these concerns and provide you with the solutions that are available on the ServiceNow platform. So as you can see on screen, Gartner predicts that $184 billion of software spend will be wasted by the end of 2021. So let's talk briefly about what software waste is. Software waste is really considered to be licenses that an organization has purchased, but they're not getting the value of. So they're unused but paid for licenses. And this is going to really be a key topic of our discussion today. So let's start by taking a quick look at potential software and SaaS savings across the global landscape. According to Gartner, organizations can save up to 30% in software costs within the first year of implementing software asset management. Considering the 2020 global software spend was projected at $492 billion, that's $148 billion in potential software savings with $36 billion in potential SaaS savings, totaling that $184 billion that you see at the top of the screen, related to projected software waste. So Scott, over to you. Let's see what that looks like inside the platform.
Yeah, so let's take a lot of, when we talk about looking at our cloud spend solution, and this is kind of an exciting thing, where if you remember last time when we left off, we were kind of looking at, our virtualized environment and how we could pull all that data in from all those different hosts, all those different providers into ServiceNow and see in one place our potential for savings based on utilization of virtual resources and right sizing virtual resources and those type of things. But when we pull that together with our licensing costs, right? The questions that came up at the other end, at the end of that last topic were about, yeah, but what about my software as a service cost, right? I know I have a cost for machines that I'm hosting out there, but I also have software as a service, my ServiceNow subscriptions and my usage, my Dropbox, my Salesforce, and the list goes on and on and on. And so many things. Well, how do I know if I'm getting the best value out of that? I can pull stuff in from my machines and tell if people are using software that's deployed on the machines, but how do I know what's going on out there in the cloud, those software as a service, those platforms as a service that we're licensing? So our cloud platform, where we see at the end, we can see those things pulled together, right? And we can see those cloud costs, our spend, who's using it. We can see details of how we might be driving to actually save on it, and we're going to dig a little bit deeper into those things as we go along here in our webinar today. So I know kind of one of the next question on everybody's mind is, how many of these things are people using?
Yeah, so let's go to a poll. If you could just bring that poll up.
I'm clicking.
You're cooking, all right. So to the audience, how many SaaS providers or sources is your organization trying to track today? And it can range from, I really don't know, to maybe up to 20 to many, many, many. We'll just take a minute and wait for those results.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing as I see all the people asking that they wish they knew, or too many to count. And that too many to count is I know we're being a little funny on that, but that's an accurate description of how people feel about this. So if it's okay with you, John, I'm going to go ahead and close this poll now.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's both ends of the extremes. Right? I really don't know, or there's just too many to count right now.
Yeah,
and that's kind of expected. That's part of our solutioning on the call today. So great, thank you.
Yeah, right. So that kind of brings us into the platform, and that brings us into what we wanted to talk about here today, and how we can pull in to ServiceNow, particularly with that advanced licensing dashboard, that ability to see all of that license usage. If I have a bunch of things out there connected that I'm using, being able to know without having to go to 40 different spreadsheets, or my managers, my IT asset managers or my software managers having to go out there and deal with all of these items and know all those different things. So I have the power, I can analyze, highlight the users, know what's breaking down, what's available at a specific point, and know what's out there and track down. We can visualize it across the company to see who's using it and what's using it, right? We get the breakdowns of subscriptions, but there's a lot more to that, getting all of that data, and that's where the rubber hits the road and where the excitement is in optimizing the cost, right? So we mentioned you could go out there into all these environments, right? I could go out into my PagerDuty or into my app. They all have consoles. They're all tracking things, and I could see what's going on. But the key is to get to see all those in one place. And by leveraging ServiceNow, and we're going to take a look here and leveraging our connectors through all these different environments, and they have different types of data we can pull from, and we could drive those all to a single place of usage. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about here, if that's all right. So when I'm looking at my cloud spend dashboard, and I'm seeing on here all of these potential savings, and I'm looking at my SaaS recommendations for potential savings, where it's going out there and it's figuring out the usage. Is this something that somebody isn't using the license that I could maybe reclaim the license from, where I could get those different things, and looking at those recommendations, talking about where we're getting that data from is a big important part of this feature, of the features in here. So if I take a look at, the idea is setting up these integrations. So if you could see in my instance, I have in our little demo instance here, I have some 17 different connections out there going out and pooling the data, things that people would have to go to either pull into a spreadsheet, or people would have to go to align with and figure out or know how to admin that console to find this data. And that's just not, that's not feasible. That's not a reasonable ask for my software manager, for my license manager. And the cool thing is, setting up these profiles is really pretty sweet. And when I talk about that, right now, there's new SaaS providers coming on all the time. And so right now, I think the number is about 30. There's 30 some definitions already provided out of the box, where I could go in. You see, I went in and said, click a new one, and I'm going to pick random, say I'm setting up a box integration to get that. It's going to ask me for the things that I need to know to set that up. I'm not going to do this one now, but I can walk through and I can set those things up pretty much out of the box without having to go through and build all those things. So a good example, when I do set one up, I'm going to take a look at one that is set up here, because this is set up using one of the connectors that's provided. I already have these workflows, these flows. They're actually data flows built for me to go in and get the activity, to pull it into my instance, to put it into the right fields. And this one also has a reclaim. So when we find those people that are reclaim and we do a reclamation, and most of them do, and reclamation means just removing somebody's license or putting it back to available, that I can do all this from within ServiceNow and drive those things together and pull it in. So some of the real useful stuff is, getting these set up is pretty straightforward, pretty easy. There's a lot new ones being published all the time to go out and put information out there into the system. And they're all just a little bit different, right? So, a really good example of some of the things going on out there, some of the things, and being able to drive my license utilization. Office 365 is one, and we put this in there because this is one, and I'm sure Lynn will attest to, as we work with customers and things just is coming up over and over again to questions people ask when people want to know what they're doing. So it's a fairly complex licensing in Office 365, because a person can have both installs, and they can have their online version of it that they're using. So they have the opportunity to go in and really take a look and see, to drive into that Office 365. And we'll just take a quick look here over in the system of what that looks like.
I think many of our customers have moved to Office 365. It's bordering on the ubiquitous for sure.
Right, and so because I have a particular publisher pack in place for that, there's dashboards and there's monitorings and the licensing. Like I say, those things of how we build, how the licensings are calculated are built in. There's a lot of publisher packs available out of the box. So this is the standard dashboard for that. Again, personally, I really, really like going to things like going to the software asset manager, the software asset workspace to see these things. There are the old models available, but I really like this view where I can drive in, kind of see those details. In this case, I'm driving into all my Office subscriptions. And we mentioned Office 365 specifically. And what's cool, you'll see right here, I have my stuff, all this stuff in here because it's coming in. When I see my license usage, I see where I'm at this point in time on everything. Right. So I really kind of dig that portion of it. And being able to drill down and find out that information, not just what's out there and who's what's out there and how it's being, but who's using it, what cost centers. I can drill into that. I can see the details of, what cost centers are using these products. Where do I want to potentially save on some of these things? What are my opportunities if I drive into kind of my subscriptions by cost centers? I can break that out. This is just one thing we chose to drive into for this demo, but it could absolutely, be modifying your dashboard, putting details on there, driving in, looking at my details by department or however your organization might break these things up, or try and identify where we're going with that. All right, so we'll take a quick poll on where we are with these things and how many people are driving into their software usage and how we talked about those Office 365 and things like that. So let me see if I can get this one launched now. All right, John, do you see my poll?
Yes, we do.
All right.
And I see some numbers coming through, Scott.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this up. This is your final countdown. I wish I could play like the Jeopardy theme song. You want to get any answers in? Four, three, two, one. Right, so 100%. Everybody out there is using some form of Office at home. So what does that mean? Where we looked at those subscription licenses and that Office 365 opportunities there, right? So different corps have different organizations have different ways that they've set their license up. Some allow people to use it online from any machine. Some allow people to do multiple installs, and gathering those things up into my console of looking at my Office 365 and driving in where am I using it and making sure I'm not getting duplicate subscription counts because some things available in it. When we might have those hosted internally on physical hardware at this time, maybe my SAP instance included perpetual Oracle licenses in my contracts for that, and I had it hosted on my internal hardware servers. And then if we take and or those servers come up at life cycle time, and rather than replacing that hardware, bringing that into play, I can take and drive those items. I'm pushing them out to the cloud, as a lot of organizations are pushing them out to be hosted in Azure, and I'm pushing them out to be hosted on AWS. And now I have an issue with tracking the licenses on this. I don't want to deploy an AWS issue with and pay for my Oracle licensing as part of that. I need to bring my own because I already have one and deploy it out to there. So I can track those things that way. And in the software, in the Rome release, we added those abilities to bring your own licenses, right? So I can take a look at when I could see my license types on Oracle, I can see I'm still in compliance. I've brought, for this case, I have or I guess I brought my own licenses. I brought them in to apply against some of them, so I don't show out of compliance, don't show those things as missing, as gone, and I'm able to bring those in and keep that current and keep my data current. And then I believe I got to talking about how much I love the agent or the software asset management workspace. I love the workspaces in ServiceNow. They've gone to this, how I can have multiple things open in here and be working within it. And then driving into this, really dig that, when these cards, we talked about, we're pulling all that information in from various sources. We're pulling all of those things in at once. And we're able to see exactly where I sit in my compliance. We're able to see exactly what's going on and where I'm at on things. So because we're going out and reaching out at those sources and pulling in, I'm able to see, remember when we set those up and we talked about had those flows designs, so I could kick this off because I have a low usage. I could go ahead and kick off the flow where I'm going to engage the user, make sure it's okay that they're not actually using that in ServiceNow by creating a request for them, then where they have to actively engage and say, yes, I do want that, keep it. And then I drive through and I can actually kick off that flow and recoup that license from them to potentially use from somewhere else, use for somebody else in their costs. So I can see all my publishers. I see all my publishers out there, and these are the two I go into a lot, so I pinned them up at the top. And I can see exactly where I stand with them at any point in time. And then we got to driving in and talking about the various types, the various different licenses, different organizations license their product differently, whether it's a SaaS licensing through say Box or DocuSign or whatever it is that have a SaaS that are pulling it in, to very complex licensing that say Oracle has, or some of our engineering software candidates. And by pulling in the publisher packs and items for those, we're able to bring in the analytics for it. We're able to show where we stand on that. And then I was showing, I think we were taking a look at the engineering license manager, driving into the cost on there, and then looking at the same thing in the workspace. So we have again, same thing. And these are important things because these are things we want to know, when are they being used? And generally our engineering licenses kind of drive from concurrent users and driving through things. So by having that analyst pack installed and just brought in and installed on ServiceNow out of the box, I get a really good view into what's going on out there. All right, so we talked about that. Everybody can still hear me, right?
Yes, we can, Scott.
I guess I get to stop every now and then just to get feedback here. If I don't hear you answer, I'll assume something's gone wrong. All right, so we talked about reclaiming that, right? It's a big piece. When we walked in there, we could see we're pulling in our usage from our providers and all of our different sources, and we're driving the things out there. And by driving that, we can run our reclamation rules, kick off those workflows in ServiceNow, those workflows that were pre-built for us when we provided it, when we got things going, when we selected and built it. and kick it off those to reclaim, uninstall, reallocate, right? So I have those license managers that can go in there and look at it. So my team, say my software asset team, could go in and they could see, hey, I had somebody request another item for Oracle. They request, I have another person that needs to be able to use project, and I'm currently out of compliance. Before I go buy another one, maybe I need to take a look at, is there somebody out there that has one that hasn't been using it now? And really, Lynn, you could probably back me up on this a little bit. Where we really see a lot of the times of those lost licenses are when people are really good at getting everybody's stuff when they onboard, but getting back and knowing what licenses are available to be reused when people offboard tend to be organizational problems.
Yeah, we see that with a lot of our customers as well. There's some opportunities to tune up offboarding and reclaim those, both hardware as well as licenses. Yep.
You know, and getting prepared for software audits.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a busy slide, but it has some headlines that you may have seen over the years. Achieving savings on shelfware or reallocating software is great, but what happens when you don't have enough licenses to cover your organization's usage? As you start to address enterprise software, specifically some of those bigger titles, those bigger publisher names, you'll feel yourself with the data and insight needed to improve your posture related to vendor audits. Regarding software audits, we know it's not a matter of if they will happen, but when. Sooner or later, a software auditor is going to show up or send a letter to your CIO requesting an audit. In fact, Gartner suggests that it's common to have 2 or more audits annually, and the larger the company, the more likely you will be contacted for a software audit. The ServiceNow solution ensures that you have the data that you need to always be prepared in case of an audit. You don't need to go through a large exercise to collect all this data. You've got it at your fingertips, and it's always being calculated and tracked. So the ITAM review analyzed this entire space and stated at the beginning of the year that the threat of audits has increased and is expected to increase further throughout 2021. Many audits are sales-based and viewed as opportunities for revenue. No one is exempt, not even hospitals. Everyone can be audited. Many publishers are actively auditing, and it's not just the usual suspects. Just because a publisher is small doesn't mean they will necessarily be less aggressive. As you see on screen, the average organization can spend up to 60 working days addressing audit requests, and the average audit can take up to 20 working days to complete. So if you think about that, you know, depending on how many people you have involved in pulling together the response to the audit, that is a lot of kind of opportunity loss or a lot of cost to your organization spending time to put together the data needed to respond to an audit. So
yeah, going back to that. So yeah, I love this, and I love your title on this. You know, the ain't nobody got time for that preparing for the audit, and I can't stress enough. I think that is one of those big things of where that value is. So you know, instead of getting a call, hey, we're going to get an audit, I got to go out, I got to get spreadsheets, I got to call John. Hey, John, what do you have? Who in your department's using this? Who's that? I get a note back from John left on a sticky on my desk that I can't read because his handwriting, and I'm trying to pull those all out. Where in my in a perfect organization, right? In this case, where I'm going out and I'm pulling from my vendors, I'm pulling all these things into one place, I can see right now exactly where I stand at any time. Well, I think this is as of 3 days ago. I know where I stand 3 days ago. I can also, you know, if I'm called, I can provide the data, or I can be proactive in dealing with things that might be out of compliance. I think that is the brilliance of this, and that's where we bring value.
Okay, thanks, Scott. And I just want to say thank you to all attendees that managed to come back or have stayed with us through some challenges, but I see most of you are back right now. Just in conclusion, we started this session by introducing some common challenges of SaaS license management, and those included usage and optimization for SaaS license, spend reduction and compliance, also some of the business challenges coupled with better visibility of SaaS licensing, and license reclamation via integration profiles and waste. And we address these challenges with the ServiceNow solutions that include use of the ServiceNow SaaS overview dashboard to both view and optimize your SaaS usage, spend, and better be prepared for your next audit. We also use the Analytics Hub to improve license visibility. And for Bring Your Own License, or BYOL, we use the Engineering License Overview to help rationalize licenses that you already own. And I do have a few questions here, Scott, and I think the first one could be directed to you.
Yeah, sure.
So if I don't see an out-of-box integration profile for my application, what do I do?
Oh, yeah, that's actually a really good question. So, where we kind of talked about and I really stress, because I think it's pretty awesome, all of these pre-built ones that are available out of the box, and new ones are coming out all the time, right? I don't have to wait for a release for those to come out. When I upgrade, I go to my plugins, I can upgrade on it. I'll get new ones that are released, but you do have the ability, if I were creating a new one, I do have the ability to create my own, to work with my provider, to figure out what's my flow to go, hopefully hit their web APIs to get the data and load it into the system. Hopefully, the reclaim subscription flows, those type of things. I would have to build those myself. But if I'm working with somebody in there, we do have the ability to create your own. You just have to have the knowledge and background and work with your provider to do that. Or probably wait a week and it'll be available.
Yeah, because they're consistently coming out, right? That's a given. Another question.
Before you move on, John, so where do you see those, Scott, whenever they post new integration profiles? Do they do that through a plugin or through the store, or?
Yeah, so normally they would come in, and I could probably try and show on here, but it might actually take a while to come up, so we could kind of talk about, but they would come in usually, because I can have my plugin updates between releases, and usually they would come in with like the software solution plugin updates.
Great, thanks.
And I'll go ahead, it'll take a while to load this in the background, but I'll go ahead and bring that up while we talk about, when we look at some of the other questions here.
Yeah, and the next question, what version of ServiceNow do I need to best realize these benefits?
That's a good question. So, over the last couple of years, ServiceNow's really put a lot of time, money, and effort into this space. So, I mean, this might not be, I would say, in my opinion, this really started all coming together at probably in the last release, maybe in the Quebec. I would say it really all kind of started coming together and being really good in the Quebec release, and a lot of more useful features, and then kind of drilling home with Rome. A couple of things added with Rome, kind of how they reevaluated and kind of merged together the SaaS and the SaaS solution and the cloud insights together. It's really an opportunity there.
Okay, and this one will sit well with Lynn. So can I export this data or create a report for my auditor to support an audit?
Hold on just a second. I'm kind of bringing stuff up here. I don't want to cancel this and showing to kind of follow the other question, but I will try not to lose everything here that was bringing up there. But when we were talking about kind of that license uses, and with each of those analytics packs, with each of those publisher packs that you might put in place on your system, there come specific sets of reports for those items. Driving out, and there's a lot of out-of-the-box reports provided. around it for each one of these items. So I could go out and export my entitlements. I could go out and take a look at some of my things, my SaaS overview, and there's reports to drive off of there. And a lot of those things, again, come with my publisher packs for the specific area, and being able to drive and create those.
Okay,
And,
well, we're right at the quarter 2 mark, and I think we have no remaining questions. Was anything else you want to show, Scott, or is that?
yeah, so this just opened up, and what I was able to do is be able to went in and clicked on upgrading that pack, and you could see some of the things that come along with that upgrade on there. It shows different items being updated related to those spokes and those connections. That was it.
Okay.
Kind of filling in on the question from earlier.
Great.
Great,
Does
thank you.
anyone else on the call have additional questions that you'd like to ask while we have Scott here?
I don't see any at this point.
Oh, I see a raised hand. So Dave, if you have a question, if you want to put it in either the chat box or the question box. Or can we unmute it?
I think I see it now.
Yeah, it's a long one, so it kind of, if you don't mind, I'll try and read it off. But the summary comes out from how do I know how does it actually know if a piece of software is being used? So how do I know that all 200 subscriptions are being used? And so there's the answer. We were primarily in this focus talking about the SaaS solution, and I think I kind of summarized that. They talk specifically about their Acrobat Pro subscriptions and the number of installs and things they have on it. But kind of taking a look at where does that usage come from, and it comes from two different places, right? If I'm, for my SaaS solutions, for my things like for my items like my Adobe Cloud or those type of things, it's coming from that connection that we showed earlier, where we're pulling in from the provider, we're connecting to them, and it's showing, has somebody used that license? It's also, if we set up, like we can set up connections where we pull data from, say our IDP provider, or like from our OneLogin or our Okta, where we're routing people in there. And we could see, has this person actually gone in and routed for things used on those machines? Those, for how the usage is going on in those machines, that data is either coming in from if we're using Discovery to pull our software and software usage from the user's machines, and when was the last time it was run, or from SCCM, if we're using our SCCM integration to pull that data in and get our reclamation suggestions and things from there for locally installed items. Oh,
well, that's great, Scott. Any other questions? Do we have? I don't see anything. So I think at this point, we'll give everybody 10 minutes back to the day, and just thank you for attending today. You probably are looking now, if we bring the deck back, here's our contact information. If you want to learn more, feel free to contact us, and have a great day. Thank you.